we haven't officially started. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Today's theme is climate. So we'll be talking about, I hope we can incorporate that into the climate and into the theme. And I'm choosing this because I'm recently coming across a lot of discussions about the climate change and also the strategies that we may do about it. There's many different ideas. Of course, it's a very big scope and it's hard to get everyone into collaborating into a very large project because any one player may only play a very small part. It needs a collaborative effort to really move anything forward, and this is a very hard debated field on what we should do first and what tactic is better than the other. That's why I think it's a very important topic, and also we are changing season, so that's why I choose climate. Okay, so I guess the first thing we should do is make sure that we go through the roles and people we have the role can talk about what they will be doing. So let's start with.
Maybe you want to ask the guests.
Yeah.
Welcome and
Oh,
what's
okay.
the expectation?
So our guest is Joe.
Joe, yeah.
Okay. So what brings you here?
Oh,
Would you like to just introduce yourself a little bit?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So my name is Joe Horwath. Thank you guys for having me. I'm a former Toastmaster. I had to do it for graduate school, so the idea of getting up in front of this giant lecture hall terrified me. So I was like, I had better learn how to actually publicly speak. But it's been about 8 years, and I was gonna say that I was gonna work on my communicator, but I guess it's not really a thing. It doesn't even exist anymore. It's Pathways now, as I just found out. So I'll figure out where I'm gonna go in that program, and just really want to get back to public speaking. So thank you guys for having me.
Thank you. You may have been able to tell that I haven't been here for a little bit, so I'm replugging and playing. So let's start with table topic. So today's table topic master is Tony. So would you, I think we would just introduce your role, right? Introduce what you would do.
Yeah, let's everybody introduce their role.
Yeah.
And then we start with.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have table topic master Tony and general evaluator is Mohammed. We have two speakers, Wai Ming and Arch, and Jennifer would be evaluating Wai Ming, and Haroon, who is still on the way, would also be an evaluator for Arch. After that, we will go through the other roles, which is art counter. So Stalet is the art counter today.
Yeah,
And this is the instructions. And we have,
Is Mohammed?
we don't have a grammarian yet.
Mohammed?
You can be? Okay, thank you. And we also have we also need a ballot counter.
How can you do that?
Okay, thank you. And of course we have Wordmaster and Timer. So Timer is our guest Joe, and Wordmaster is Wai Ming. I guess we can.
You want us to introduce?
Yeah, I guess we can start introducing the roles of the people with duty. So, should I? Are you guys doing the introduction on your spot, or should I invite you guys on to the front?
You can invite.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's start with Timer. Sorry, you're the guest. So
that's okay.
yeah.
I know the
Okay.
role.
Yeah.
I'll be timing your speeches and your table topics. And the green means you have 2 minutes left. Yellow means 1 minute left, and red, time's up. When you hear the bell after 30 seconds of the red being up, that means you've gone past your time and I'm bothering you.
Cool. Okay. So the prepared speech would be 5 to 7 minutes. The table topics would be 2 minutes, and the evaluations will be 3 minutes. And our next role is, I think, counter.
Yeah, so I will be tracking all the filler words, all the ahs, ums, nos, okays, so's, any word that you use when you're trying to think of your next thought. I will be tracking those words, terms, or noises.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stella.
And our next role is ballot counter.
Yeah. So as a ballot counter, I will collect and process the votes for the best speaker, the best evaluator, and the best table topic speaker. So after the when you have the ballot on your hand, make sure that people have 1 minute to fill in the command for the according speaker, and then after we're done all the speaking, people have the time for them to fill in the ballot, and I will collect the ballot and count for the people with the best vote. Thank you.
Next role is grammarian.
So I'm the grammarian. What I'm going to do, I try to catch any obvious mistakes that you make and any good thing that you use when you are speaking.
Great, thank you. Our next role is also very important, the joke master.
Word master.
We don't have a joke master for now. And the word master.
Mr.
Scott.
Toastmaster.
Toastmaster.
Yeah.
Waking up. Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and most welcome guests. My function as word master is listen to you speak, and when you speak, you have to use this word global. And the way you use it is something like Toastmaster is a global organization. There are lots of members all over the world. So when you speak, use that word, and at the end of the meeting, I will report whether you use the word, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you so much. And we also have video master.
Oh yeah. So basically I'm gonna video everything, but if you don't want to be on the screen, just let me know. I'm gonna turn the video away to my face with it.
Oh no.
So we're not gonna record you if you don't want to. And just let me know in advance. I will turn the camera away. That's it. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay, we have go through the roles for today. And without further ado, I will invite our first speakers, which is Wai Ming, to start with our first prepared speech. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Good morning, folks, fellow Toastmasters, most welcome guests. So today I'm going to talk about how do you prepare for speaking in front of Toastmasters. Now, I gave a speech on this last week, but before I start, I do want to set the stage. I started Toastmaster a long time ago, long time ago, because I could not stand in front of the audience. And the goal at that time was to just to be able to speak in front of the audience. And then after a while, like lots of years later, I was able to come up and speak. And then my goal was to be able to speak reasonably and people can understand me and be able to listen to me so I can do my job at work. And so I can present information to customers, present information to fellow employees, and so on. And it took me a long time to get that going too. Now my goal is to actually be able to use what I say to motivate people. Now that's a lot harder job, and it's going to take me a long time to get there. However, to even be able to do this, I think from my experience, the way to do this is to practice as often as possible. And the way to practice is come every week. It's hard to do that, to wake up in the morning at 7 a.m. or 6 a.m. and then get ready and come here and be able to even think. And I have a hard time thinking. And then while you're thinking, you then have to speak in front of the audience. What topics do you come up with front of the audience to be relevant. And last week I suggested something. I suggested the idea of finding 3 articles, reading them, and then pick one of them, just pick whatever, the one that you like most, that's most relevant to the audience, and then pick 3 items from that article to talk about, and then reach a conclusion, and then a call to action with that article. Now, I thought about it, and then I thought, let's maybe have a conversation this past Saturday, and I invited folks on WhatsApp to try to come to that session to talk about how this would be done. No one showed up. One of the reasons why no one showed up is because the time was at 10 a.m. in the morning on Saturday. It's really hard for a lot of people. and the other big deal, frankly, and it relates to how we talk, is there's no motivation. There's no reason why someone would want to show up in that meeting, because so we're going to talk about how to prepare for a speech, but there's no compelling thing that you want to overcome the Saturday morning relaxing thing to actually come to that meeting. So I thought about that. How do we sort of change that? And the other thing I thought about is this idea of reading 3 articles. Now that works for me because I like to read a lot of news. But for some of us, it might be not appropriate because you're busy. You're really busy on your work, or you're busy pursuing other things, and maybe you don't have time to find 3 articles. So I thought about another way, 3 other ways to come up with topics to talk about at Toastmasters. One way is what Hannah does. Hannah comes here, she talks about what she's done in the past. Because if you know yourself and you just find some story to talk about, you can always come in and talk about that story and do the practice. Because the point of being able to speak in front of the audience, in my mind, is that you just need practice. You just need to do it, as opposed to thinking about, I need to prepare for a speech, and then maybe someday I'll be able to come up with a great speech and come up here. A lot of time is just to be able to just stand here for 5 to 7 minutes and talk. And then maybe it doesn't turn out well, but that's okay, because you can come back next time and improve on it and get your feedback. And the more you do it, the easier it gets. So that's the point. Another way, besides talking about your past, is talk about what you do today. Some people might not feel comfortable with that. I personally, I'm not sure I would talk about what I do at work, because some of it is fairly technical, and I'm not sure whether the audience would be interested. But at the same time, that's something that you know about. It's just easy. You don't have to read any article or anything. You know what you're going to talk about. You can pick 3 points and talk about that. So that's another thing you can do. And the third thing that's most interesting for me is to repeat what you have done in the past. And just, in fact, I can see that we can go through the Competent Communication Manual, all 10 speeches, on the same speech. Just vary it, just change it. Just come up with a topic, whatever you're going to talk about. Let's say the first one is to do the introduction of yourself. And let's say we use that. And then the next speech is on just organizing. And then you can just reorganize your speech to organize it. And then the next one is using voice variation. You can just tell stories about yourself and vary it. So the same topic can be used to do 10 speeches. Just vary it. And by just doing it, you don't have to worry about coming up with what topic to talk about. Rather, you just come up and practice talking in front of the audience and give feedback. So that's the point. So my call to action is I'm going to try to ask for another session online. And I'm going to put out a doodle poll and see what time slot people might be interested. Half an hour, just at the end of the week, to brainstorm on ideas or to get ourselves motivated to come up here to talk next week and the week after, and so on. So that's my call to action. I suggested several possible ways to come up with topics, and give it a try. Just come up and talk. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much. Great speech. Our next speaker will be.
From me.
Oh, yeah. Please take a minute to write down your feedback. Our ballot is actually pretty high tech. You can tear it up pretty easily. It's a very nice touch. I mean, it's an investment. More seconds. Okay, without further ado, please welcome our next speaker, Arch. And do you have a topic?
Stepping outside your comfort zone, I guess.
Yeah. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Great speech findings because I was traveling this weekend and I wasn't really able to do like a really prepared speech. And I thought maybe I shouldn't come in because I don't have a prepared speech, but then I was able to work on it yesterday a little bit, and then I thought I just need to do it and just come in and get practice. So thanks for that. And then today I wanted to talk about stepping outside of your comfort zone because that's something I've been working on this whole entire year and a little bit of last year as well. And I'll just share 3 stories with you of how I'm doing that and how I'm still doing that. So first, I last year started to do CrossFit, and going to high school, I never was really into sports, so going out and exercising more than maybe a run was not something I was used to. And my cousin was actually doing CrossFit, and I had a coworker that did too, so they kind of encouraged me to do it. I'm like, okay, I've never really weightlifted in my life, and I don't do a lot of cardio. I don't work out in general, so this is a little scary. But then I thought, I just need to do this. I just need to throw myself into this. And I did it, and the first month was intense because it's, I don't know if you guys are familiar with CrossFit, it's a lot of strength training. So you do a lot of weightlifting, Olympic weightlifting. It's a lot of cardio. And it's HIIT workouts, if you've heard of that. So it really gets your heartbeat up. And at the end of it, sometimes I felt like very lightheaded and felt like I couldn't do it. And then you're also very, very sore when you first start. So it's really intense. And I would go about 3 to 5 times a week. So I actually went all in. Like once I started, I was like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this consistently. And I did it for about 8 months. And when I first started, I couldn't even lift up a training barbell. And I couldn't even lift it over my head because I just was never used to it. And I remember the coach even being like, oh, wow, like you really can't do this. I'm like, nope, I can't, but I'm just going to keep trying. And to see my progress from like day 1 to like the end of like the 8 months, I was able to do so much. And there were so many things I told myself that I wasn't able to do. For instance, doing a handstand. That's something I never thought I would be able to do. And then one time my coaches just kept pushing me like, you can do it. It's all in your head. Just put your legs up when you go, put your hands down at the same time. It's like, nope, I can't do it. And then they just kept pushing me. And then my legs ended up going up. And I was like, whoa, I didn't know I could do that. And so little things like that really built up my confidence in knowing what I can do and what I can't do, because we tell ourselves these things like, oh, I've never done this, so I can't do it. But if you just keep working towards it, I think like you'll be able to surprise yourself with what you're actually capable of. So that was one thing, CrossFit, and I really learned what I was capable of and like the limits of our minds. And then if you just keep working at something, even if you suck in the beginning, you just keep doing it, and then you'll be able to see how much you're capable of and what your potential is. And then the second thing I did was I quit my job and I went to go travel for a whole month by myself. And that's something I had never done. I only had gone traveling with my family before that, and then one time with my friend. And that was the same year when I went, well, not with my family. And I was a little scary, but I kind of just wanted to do it at that time in my life because traveling was something I always wanted to do, and I always wanted to do a solo trip, not just for like a week or two, for a good amount of time. And my family freaked out because they're like, you're a girl and you're going to go by yourself, and that's not safe. My dad was like really freaking out too, and I was able to convince them I'm an adult. I know how to take care of myself, and this will teach me to be more aware of my surroundings. So I did a lot of research before going, and I did a month in Europe. So I went to Germany, I went to Prague, Portugal, Spain, Stockholm, Holland, and Denmark. So I did all of those. So I was traveling every 3 days, pretty much flying or on a train or on a flight. So it was really intense. It's not that glamorous because it's very exhausting to travel, but I learned a lot about myself and to be more confident in myself, to navigate through a foreign country, different languages. Some of them, they didn't even really speak English, so being able to really navigate your way through these foreign countries, and also my sense of awareness. So before going on this trip, I probably couldn't even have read a map because I just put where I need to go on Google Maps or Apple Maps, and it takes me there. I don't have to think about how to get there. Or even if I'm walking somewhere, I just put it into my map and it takes me there. Turn left, turn right. And so when I wasn't able to do that anymore, I really learned to be aware of my surroundings, like where I'm walking and actually being conscious. And then just being in a different country with a different culture teaches you a whole lot. So I really learned how it can be so different in different countries, and how you can learn about a different perspective on life. I guess there are some countries I went to, for instance, Spain and Portugal, where it's a bit of a slower pace versus going to like London or even Munich, where it's a bit faster. And then the food, the culture, the way they interact with each other. I just learned a whole lot. And after my trip, I felt like I really wanted to take a flight by myself and spend a month somewhere on my own and be totally comfortable with that. So it allowed me to be comfortable doing things by myself. And another thing that I've been doing is going to a dance class. So when I was very little, maybe about 5 years old, my uncle had his wedding, and my cousins and I were dancing, and it was all recorded, obviously, because there was a videographer and a photographer. And my cousins really made fun of me because I don't know what I was doing, but I was a kid, so I thought I was dancing, but apparently I don't know. But we were kids, so they were just joking around, and that kind of like affected me because then I was like, okay, dancing's not my thing. I guess I'm not good at this. Like, I don't want to dance. And my roommate's kind of the same way, where she's not really that into dancing. I was like, okay, we're gonna start taking dance class once a week to just get comfortable with dancing, because I know it's kind of a story we've told ourselves that we're not good at this, but it's just because we never really tried to really get into dancing and to learn to be in our bodies. And so that's something that we've been working on. We've been going to a dance class once a week, and we've just been practicing it from when we first started. We just started about a month and a half ago. It was very awkward. We felt very weird going there and trying to dance and learning a completely different dance. So we're learning Latin dancing. And now when we go, we're just so excited to go because we see ourselves growing. We're like, oh, when we started, we couldn't even we did not look graceful at all. But now we're kind of getting there. We're kind of looking a little bit more graceful and getting more comfortable with it. And so that's like another thing that we're working on. So once a week we're going to dance class. And what I've learned is if you just do one thing, even just step outside your comfort zone, just one thing that you think you're not good at, and you just try to do it consistently, it'll teach you a lot about yourself. So this year I feel like I've learned more about myself than I have in any other year, just because I'm actually pushing myself to step out of my comfort zone and learn more about myself. So I encourage you all to do the same. Just do one thing and just do it consistently, and you'll be surprised at what you can achieve and what you're capable of. Thank you.
Thank you for Asha's beautiful speech and her sharing of the global experience. And please take a minute to write down your thoughts and comments about the speech. Let's take another 10 seconds. Cool. So our next section will be led by the general evaluator. And our general evaluator today will be Muhammad. So I will give the floor to him.
Scott. So now we have Jennifer to evaluate working. So let's have her here.
Good morning, our Toastmaster members, welcome guests, and especially Wami. It's such an inspiration to see you how hard you try, fighting for our club to help people to improve. I know this is one of the pathway programs that you choose. At the same time, you always have that resilience, the motivation. It's not like a fire or a big ocean. It's like a consistent waves of contribution showing up. You're one of the oldest members that been with us for 7 years and still showing up today. That is showing something about your resilience, and thank you for that. What I love about your speech today is that I feel there's a stronger persuasion compared to all other speeches in terms of your the tone of your voice, your how you control the space over here, and your vocal variety is actually improved. Because during your speech, when you share about what is the other way that you can do today, like how you can be using the same topic but use many times, that part I'm really persuaded that that is something that easy for everyone can do, and it's not it's a way for us to just stepping up, just do it, and the consistent is very important. That is the aha moment that I saw in Wami actually today, seeing you so many times giving speeches. I see your soul, I see your motivation, I see the calmness and the kindness. That's what I personally felt, and I trust that everybody also felt the same way. Especially Joe, right? You also feel so resonated about the topic, because how to speak in front of the crowd after so many years. Welcome back to Toastmaster, and it's the right topic that Wami shared today. so seems like it speaks personally to you. There's one thing only that I would love to see is that 2 or 3 times you repeatedly use the phrase "that's the point." So maybe if you can, you break into different points. Like this is the first point, this is second, and this is the third. It will help people to visualize and see it better. At the same time, when you call for action for people to use the Skype or what is the next step, you use the doodle to give a selection, right? If you be able to make it more specific or write on the board right here, right? This is some of the option, either weekday or weekend, morning or lunchtime or at night. It helps people to take the action more seriously, because we have so many distractions, right? If you provide more details on that, I for sure the next call to action people will show up and be on the same cause and fight for that with you. That's all for my evaluation, and thank you. Return back to our general evaluation.
Thank you, Jennifer. And the next evaluator is Harun, who is going to evaluate ours.
Good morning, everybody. And thank you, Arsh, for that great speech about finding yourself and getting comfortable with your stepping out of your comfort zone. So one of the things that I really liked about Arsh straight off the bat was how contextually aware her introduction was. That Wai Ming had a great topic, led with the topic about finding yourself, about finding topics, and then Arsh finding topics to talk about from your past, and Arsh then picked up something on that and continued that thread. And I thought that was really impressive, because you're so focused on your speech, what you're trying to write, and all of a sudden you come up that you still have the presence of mind to sort of pick up from where the last speaker left off. It really gives a really crisp operation of it. Shows how much you know about what your surroundings are. You're not just focused about delivering what your topic is. So that was really amazing. What I really liked about was that you had this really crisp introduction. You picked up the mantle from Wai Ming and flowed into your own speech. You had a crisp intro, and then you started off with your points, and you structured it really well. Hey, I wanted to focus on being healthy. I focused on exercising, CrossFit. You gave examples of what you did, of the obstacles you faced, and how you overcame them. The next thing was about how you trained yourself to get comfortable traveling and interacting with different cultures. That was your second point. And your third point was about, which I'm assuming that you're trying to get comfortable with an activity that you didn't like in the past, and then you tried to overcome that mental block you had. It was really well. Structured really well. The one thing that I felt was a little lacking was the fact that for each point that you did, I had to make certain assumptions in my head about what you were trying to talk about. So that, and this is, I may be putting words in your mouth here, that you were trying to feel healthy, but how did that sort of relate back to your comfort zone? I didn't quite get that, but I kind of sort of extracted that from the content of from your speech. So you might want to actually take that, okay, I wanted to get healthy, I decided to do this is how I stepped out of my comfort zone. Just maybe a few words about it will make that better. The other thing was that I would encourage you to sort of pace yourself in terms of styling, delivery. What that will do is that it'll sort of drive home the point that you're trying to make for each of those sections. Other than that, great speech. Thank you.
Thank you, Harun. So now we turn the meeting to our Toastmaster.
Is it right?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Scott will be fired after.
I will still come back. Thank you so much for the evaluations. And I will be now handing the floor to the table topic master.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you so much.
So the Toastmaster, most welcome guest. And this is, I think, it's one of the fascinating part of the meeting because everybody can speak in a very short time and no time to think about that, especially the time you work from a seat. So table topic today related to the climate, and just to remind the room for the people who just came today is that you have 2 minutes to answer the question and nearly to 0 time to prepare for that. That's why it makes it fascinating. The first question is, Nelson Mandela once said, education is the most powerful weapon to change the world. People right now is so educated and they change the world in a very bad way. Do you believe in that sentence? Start it.
So, do I believe in the sentence, can education change the world? I do believe education can change the world, but education has to be implemented. One thing I have learned is many of us will educate ourselves with really good education on many different things, but then we don't use it. How many of us are guilty of that? By a show of hands. Me, for sure. And so it is important that the things that we do learn, that we actually use it and implement it to change not just the world globally, but the people that are around us today. Like, we don't have to make an impact in the grand scheme of things all over the world, but we can impact the people in our workplace with the things that we're educated with, the people that we see here today, the people we see at the grocery stores, the things that we do on a day-to-day basis. One of the things that I do, I educated myself on finances. My family was horrendous with finances. So I had a point in my life where I lost everything, but I didn't use that as a sob story. What I did with that was I taught myself everything I needed to know about personal finances, and now I teach that to others. So I challenge you guys to use the education that you have not only to help yourselves, but to help the people around you. Thank you.
Thank you. Woo, that's so powerful. I thought I was in a like environment and education campaign about changing the world. Thank you. Started, and the next question is: climate change of climate is taking place not only in the global scale, but also in the local scale and the personal scale. So people change, getting harder, getting more instant gratification. To what extent did you believe that you have the personal climate change, and what is the story related to it? Please welcome Joe.
Thank you very much. Well, I think that change is something we're all thrust into at all times, whether it's change on a global scale, climates, and you're talking about climates and politics and stability, or it's what I think is also extremely important is the local change that you can pick up, say, by learning a new trade, learning a new skill, and sharing that with those all around you. So it's wild to live in both a global change and a lot of local ones. And I think that as we go forward here, it's only going to get more intense. And I think it's going to require a lot of dynamic thinking, education, and ability on our part. So thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Is it coming, right? Okay. The next thing, we'll take a deep breath. If there is one thing that you will commit to do, to change today, once and for all, just one thing, for Mother Earth, for the better sense of Mother Earth, what will you do? One more time. If you need to change one thing in your daily life, one thing right now, once and for all. For to have a better support to Mother Earth, what will you do? Harun. Looks stressful, man.
Yeah, I'm stressed.
Yeah, so that's what
Commit to change one thing.
Really stress.
Well, this is something that I've been working on for some time, and I've been failing. I think I'm sort of addicted to my iPad. That as soon as I go to bed, I'll just flip on Netflix and watch a few episodes of some TV show. Invariably, I end up not sleeping up on time. Now, that may be a problem. That may not seem like a problem for the claimant. It may have some personal cost to me, but I don't get enough sleep. I still wake up at the same time and all that. But here's one thing that I thought that would actually make a difference if I went to bed on time, woke up early enough to be able to beat the traffic, was that I think I drive to work sometimes when I have the car. My wife takes the car sometimes. So when I do have the car, if I leave early enough, I'll beat the traffic, and I'll be able to not spend so much time in traffic and burning so much gas. Probably help the climate a little bit by reducing my carbon footprint by waking up a little earlier and leaving and driving straight to work without actually being delayed in traffic. So I think that might make an impact. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. You feel better now?
No, not really.
Okay.
I see one more.
Yeah, think about that. So, please raise your hands. I have a quick poll. Do you care about the environment and climate change? Please raise your hand. Okay. So, the next question is, prove it. Please welcome Mohammed. So the full question is, please prove that you care about climate change.
Okay. That's a tough question. So one thing that I can prove is that when I see the weather, like when I recently when I was driving, I was seeing that I see the smoke on the air in the Bay Area is coming from northern part of the Bay Area. That was part of the thing that I felt a little bit sad, because that not because we are seeing our clear sky is a little bit gray. I was thinking that those trees, those forests or anything that we think about, that they have been there for I don't know how many years, thousands of years, and just in recent years we are seeing that they are just going away, and I was thinking, I was trying to imagine that maybe 300 years ago how this area looked like and how it's going to look like in 100 years, are we going to have a lot of green space or not? What are going to see the next generations that they have? I think my sadness is a little bit a proof that I care about it. And I think mostly it's just the sadness, and also whenever I go to places in nature, when I see plastic bags or plastic or cans or that kind of thing that people leave in outside, and those are the things that makes me sad. So I think only sadness is the proof that I care about.
Thank you. More questions. In a public meeting, in a town hall or in Sacramento, for example, and a Californian come to you and ask you, do you try to mandate us to drive an electric car and then you just shut off the electricity whenever you want? What will you answer? Scott.
Thank you, table topic master. This is a question that you better ask a politician. But what I see this is, if you are promoting electric cars, you may also promote what do we call it? Solar energy panels. Solar panels, so that you can charge it with your solar panel. That's the package that Elon Musk is selling. So you can consider that. The other thing is, PG&E is the company that I see a lot of people are cursing about because, you know, they cut off the electricity. And a lot of this is, I think, constructions that, you know, that you have power lines on top of trees basically, and it's very close to things that are very easy ignitable. So there's a lot of money that has and effort has to put into making the construction better, so it's easier for the electricity to work in a more in a safer way. So I think those are two main things that we have to think about in terms of electricity. And of course, there's other strategies to just cut the consumption of transport means. For example, we can bike more, walk more, run more, and also do carpooling and sharing the transportation methods and taking the bus, the BART, and some other methods that we have to think about to make things work more smoothly. And of course, in general, I think environmental protection, or really to cope with the climate change that we're facing right now, we can think about small things. For example, eating lower to the food chain, because I like, you know, for me, I like seafood, so I would eat mussels, and not eat things like tuna, which eat other fish, for example, would be something that we can think about. So I will give the topic back to
Yeah.
the
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
I think we did the last question, right? How many time we have?
I think we can go to the next section. If
Or
if you
we
want.
have 3 minutes. Can you, first of all, a person like me, I don't have the much knowledge in climate change. I just, you know, have some basic knowledge.
Oh,
You
okay.
have 3 minutes to share what you know.
Oh, for me?
Yeah, about it.
Okay. So we take on the topic and okay, that's totally good. So I will go through this for a little bit. Let's put it this way. Earth is like a house. There's no in, no way out. And that's the way you have to live no matter what. And imagine that your neighbor cooking, burning fossil fuels, and blowing on the smoke into your house, throwing the garbage into your house. They may pee into your house. They do everything bad, but it's all the trash go into your house, and it make your house hotter, more smoke, look worse, more dirtier, and it kill off some of the vibration that your house currently have. That is one of the description that I want to share with everybody, that if they think about climate change, I put it that way. It's just like a house. We don't trust when other people come to you. And this is not the personal responsibility of everyone, because if it happens, even though it's happened locally, the impact is going to be globally. Let's take the story of when the dinosaurs died off 65 million years ago. The meteor strike the Earth is locally. That impact is happened just in the very small area, but the smoke, the radiation, everything, it destroyed the ozone layer globally, and it killed off all the species. And because each species depends on each other, so it's like a chain reaction. Chain reaction happens like a domino effect, and more than 90% of animals die off from that event. So it's going to be the same thing with climate change. Even though it's happening locally, a factory will produce the greenhouse gas locally. A cow, chicken may produce greenhouse gas locally. A tree will die locally, but the impact will be spread all about the world. And we averagely will suffer it one way or another by observing like natural catastrophes, by observing the thirst of water. Some place will be will have the water disappear. Another place will suffer the extreme heat like no other before, or extreme natural disaster like earthquake and volcano. Yeah, that is my sharing, and I know why we come up with climate today, but yeah, it's a good conversation for everyone to raise their awareness, and that's just the end of my speech. And I would like to pass the phone back to the General Evaluator. Sorry for Rosita.
There you go. Thank you, Tony.
Right.
Okay, so let's go through the roles and let's have reports. So let's start with our counter.
I started off with that. So, Wall Ming I counted 3 and double terms. Arch had quite a few ahs and ums. Jennifer, the evaluator, 5. Haroon, 6. Me, 2. Joe, I didn't count any for you. Haroon, 3. Muhammad, 2. And Scott, 4.
Thank you.
I count 4 R's and M's when you were
Okay.
talking now.
I was like,
so
I'm
add
trying to
these
count.
4
Okay,
to that.
good. Okay.
So, and about the timing, how did we do?
Yeah, absolutely. So Waming, you were at 7:13. Arsh, you were at 7:53. For evaluators, Jennifer, you were at 3:10, and Arun, you were at 2:54. In terms of table topics, starting at 1:22, myself 42 seconds. Arun, what do I have here? Oh, you're at a minute 26. Mohammed, you're at a minute 35. Scott, you're at 2 minutes 7 seconds, and Tony, 2 minutes and 37 seconds of the 3 minute. So.
We should make our Toastmaster a global Toastmaster. So I want the Word Master to report. That's why I use global.
Last minute.
Mr. General Evaluator, last minute you got the word. I also heard Tony, Joe, Starlet, and Scott use the word. I'm not sure whether Haroon used the word.
He's hiding.
Yeah. I don't believe so. No one else used the word. That's all I have as those General Evaluator.
So about the evaluation, we had really good speeches. Wyoming's speech is always full of energy and motivational. I really enjoyed it, and it's really difficult to evaluate good speeches, and Jennifer did a good job, and especially mentioning the progress that Wyoming has made through the years that you have seen, I haven't seen. And one comment on that, you try to talk about the concern that Wyoming had in his speech about WhatsApp. So I think this evaluation is not the time to talk about the solution that the Wyoming, when you have the WhatsApp, like such as saying, come up with like multiple dates and times and that kind of thing. So that was the only thing that I wouldn't do because the whole point was evaluating his speech, not addressing the Toastmaster concern that he has. But overall, that was really good. And also, Archer's speech was really good. I really enjoyed it. And as I mentioned, it's really difficult to evaluate good speeches. The only thing that you can do is just praise it. And one thing that I liked about Haroon, he wanted to say that he didn't see the connection between like being healthier and coming out of comfort zone. He used the phrase that said, I felt that, so kind of made it, that's what I think, not that criticizing your thing. I think it was really a good way to just give comment about somebody's evaluation. Overall, great speeches, great evaluations. And in terms of our Toastmaster, we started late, really late. And I don't want to mention, because he mentioned a couple of times that he was prepared, but like the good thing is that we always, as a team, we work together and we make things happen, and we were able to have the whole meeting going well, and I think everybody had a chance to speak, and I think we had a success. Now I want to return the meeting to the
President.
president.
The
But I
correct-
can
Let-
shake your
let's
hand
stop
to-
saying
Let's go
that.
say, let's go say.
Yeah.
Thank you. So,
Ballot paper.
we need the ballot, and also I think we actually skipped the grammarian part because the grammarian is the general evaluator. So do you have any high or low points of people's language use?
I just one thing that's the mistake that I make. I just caught for Wyoming. He said that I want to talk about how do you prepare, how you prepare. So that's I caught it because I make the same mistake a lot. Yeah, that was it. Thanks.
Thank you very much. So I think it's time for me to give the floor to our president.
I had some good belly laugh today. Not because I tried to tease Scott, but because he was not prepared. One of the, it was from me and the VPE, right? We didn't instruct you properly about the Toastmaster, but also seeing you how well and how cute you are handling all this, it made me like feel very happy. So kudos to your very first time coming back to Toastmaster and right away jump into the Toastmaster role. And Mohammed, maybe you take that inspiration to, because you also just going back for after some time, right?
Yeah.
Maybe next week you take a leadership role so that every knowledge and memories and experience coming back. That is one of the key to make the momentum keep going, and we don't fear of doing things that we didn't prepare that well, but also the impromptu situation will help us to cope and how to solve the problems or issues or unexpected things. So that is the wonderful thing about Toastmaster, and that's why I've been doing this, even though on and off for some time, but doing it very consistently. Next week I'll be away for a week. Also Jose was away for 3 weeks, so please maybe having some volunteers for next week from now is a good idea. Who is the Toastmaster for next week?
I can be
Would you like
Toastmaster.
to-
I have to.
Wonderful.
Sorry. Bless you.
So Harun, maybe Wami, can you please note down so that
Oh, I'm on the sheet.
Oh, you on your sheet?
yeah, you're on the sheet. Then Harun will be the Toastmaster.
Yay.
Who will speak next week? Yeah, it will be Icebreaker from Starlet.
Ooh.
Can't miss that. And who else? Whoever I'm looking at, you need to be.
I can do a simple.
Wonderful. Scott and Ash, you.
Maybe I'll do the table.
Yeah, I thought about that too. Ash will be the table topic master, and
I could do the evaluation.
sure. So we have 2 speeches. Yeah. Who else can be the evaluator?
We need one more.
If I'm here, I'll be
Yeah,
the evaluator,
you can
but
be the
I'm
backup
not
one.
sure. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah,
Wow.
you good. And now, do we have any announcement to make? Alright. I would let you guys not waiting any longer, but announce who the winners for today. And let's have drum roll please for the best evaluator, Harun.
Thank you.
Our best table topic, general themes, and it's no surprise, it's spelling. Tony is looking for the ribbon.
Oh, okay.
Congratulations. Maybe it knows that you're holding so many already. And our best speaker is Ash. Oh, he found it. You can. Congratulations. Please take. Tony, can you please
Sure.
take your class?
In 3, 2, 1. Okay.
Congratulations. Thank you. All the contributions is actually, it's like recharge the energy for many of us that we either not saying out loud or we didn't realize it until it's that something that we carry out the whole week, and then until we see each other again, instead of panicking at the end of the weekend knowing that, oh, we're about to speak or we're about to choose the theme. But sometimes push yourself a little bit harder outside your comfort zone is one of the key things that Toastmaster bring to us. So let's hear from the guests today. We have one guest. Jose, please.
Joe.
Yeah. Joe. I love Jose so much, so I always think about his name. Also Janet M, who's away from Minnesota today. Joe, what do you feel about the meeting today? If there's any improvement that you suggest us to make, and will you be able to come back? Yeah, that's the question.
So yes, I will come back, and thank you guys very much for having me. It was awesome. We used to have, I was many moons ago, 8 years ago roughly. It was a very packed group, but the table topics were so short, and so I think it's fantastic you guys have longer table topics because it really makes it more of a speech than say like a 30-second blurb. But enjoyed the meeting, and thank you for having me.
Sure, thank you. I think we have actually finished early today. That's the very first time that we finished early today. Is the daytime change already, right? So now we have, I didn't know much about climate. So before it's the day saving time, right? Now it's not, or vice versa.
Now it's the standard time.
Now it's the
Previously was
standard.
the daylight saving time.
Oh, okay. Previously is the
Daylight saving
daylight
time.
saving. Okay. See.
Yeah.
With that being said, please pay more attention to protecting the surrounding area, having some, awareness about your personal consumption, and treasure the earth, make it a global place for our generations to come and to have it. So with that being said, we finished, and please go out with joy.